Welcome back, you guys. It's the GameChanger here, and today we have my boy Ant. I've been cutting Ant for a long time. Super dope client. I love him as a person. He's great. This is very different than what we usually do, and it's very dope. So I get to teach something new. So my boy Ant here. So let's talk about his hair texture and his density. Ant has a wavy hair texture, not curly. I'm usually dealing with curly, coily hair, right? What that means is when the hair shaft grows out of the hair follicle, out of the outer layer of skin, right? When it comes up out of the epidermis, it's curly. It's curly from the moment it hits that outer layer. With a wavy pattern, when Ant's hair grows when his hair shaft grows out of the epidermis, it comes out wavy. It doesn't coil over itself. It's a looser wave pattern. Right, so that can be something different to deal with. We'll talk about that. And he also has a much less dense hair texture. So I usually cut hair that, like I said, is very curly, very dense. Now the difference between dense hair and much less dense hair is that it's much easier to mess up. What that means is, okay, see, if you look at the temple of Ant's head, you can see thin spots above his ear and by his temple. He just has thin hair there. Now, along with his hair being thin in those areas, I have to also work with the density. If you look at the crown of his head in the middle, you can see his scalp less dense. That's just his hair texture. Now, the reason why it's easier to mess up is because I can't do the same. It takes me lesser strokes to achieve a look with this hair texture because with thicker hair, I literally have much more hair to work with in one smaller area. So let's just say per cubic inch, right? And if I had a square, Ant would have less hair follicles, less hair shafts in that square than a person with very dense hair. So that means I can't mess up a stroke as much, or I have to take less strokes or be more careful when I take certain strokes, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense what I'm saying. Right? Now, the benefits of cutting less dense hair in a wavy pattern is that it comes off a lot easier. Now, again, with that a lot easier, I have to be more precise and have great precision with my strokes. So I want to use my identifier, right? Use my eyes, use my hands. What I'm doing is I'm watching, okay, I find thin spots here. I also see that behind his ear, his hair grows back down towards the nape of his neck. His edge up is thin, right? I use my identifiers. The hair comes off very easy. Now, just because he has less dense hair, and I'm explaining a lot, but I'm trying to teach as I go through this process, right? Because you've seen me do this part, so let me explain the hair part. His hair comes off easier. But just because it's dense doesn't mean his hair shaft is weaker. So Ant might not have very dense hair, but the hair shaft, which is the individual hair itself, is strong, meaning it can be stubborn. So when I'm actually cutting Ant's hair off, when I bald Ant's hair, it might not look as bald as versus when I bald a person with more dense hair, because that doesn't mean their hair shaft is stronger. His hair shaft also has a different shape. So in black people hair, right? I'm gonna just use black people. We have a very oval shaped hair shaft. If you go to Caucasian and Asian, which is a mix, so Hispanics are kind of in the mix of that hair shaft. It's more circular and a slight oval. It's just, and I'm saying all that to say that the hair shaft itself is not the same. So his hair is stronger but thin. It's strong but thinner. Okay. So now, with that being said, now I'm very careful with my same technique, right? I do my primary line, secondary line, but again, I'm working with very thin hair, so I'm very careful. This is where it's very important not to have a very aggressive stroke, because again, the hair comes off so easy. I have to have a light. Look at my hand. Look at my hand placement. The thumb is on the neck of the clippers. Well, I'm sorry. The thumb is on the front neck of the clippers. If you look at my pointing finger, it's on the back neck of the clippers. And the other three fingers fall in line. Look at my thumb, right? Look at my pinky. It's a loose grip. When you're cutting this type of hair texture, a looser wave, less dense hair texture, it's very important to be very gentle. All right? So you guys watch the primary line, like, also, right? And I'm freestyling this. I'm just trying to make sure I get everything that comes to mind. I'm trying to give you some good game here, right? When you do that primary line, which is the line I just did, the section I just did, very, very important to not take that area out. Just fade it in, because that whole transition is very important when doing the fade. What is a fade? I made an Instagram post about this. A fade is basically a transition from light to dark, from less hair to more hair, right? The better you can make that transition, the better that fade will look in turn. So that's why technique is important, right? You can tell a novice fade or a less advanced fade by you being able to see the transition markers, the line, the bulk, right? If I can alleviate all of those type of things, now I have a supreme level fade. I'm in my bag today. Now, what I'm doing right now, so this is clipper over comb. It's the same thing as debulking. So with him have a looser wave, a wavy texture, a light wave texture, a less dense hair, I can lift the hair from the scalp, right? It's easier to manipulate. And I'm just debulking, I'm evening the hair out. I'm using a white comb, he has black hair, so it's easier to see the hair. Little things like that, and then I'll debulk and I use my regular techniques. See, boom, right there, the area I'm working now, that was a more dense spot next to the thinner spots. And see how I'm using only the corner of the clipper. So when you're doing a fade, you don't have to hit every area at one time, right? I.e. use the whole clipper. Use the corner of the clippers. See that? Boom, right? To see how the hair grows back. Now I'll manipulate the hair and go reverse. All about technique. But a fade is basically a transition from light to dark. Advanced fade, you won't be able to see the transition markers. A more novice fade, you can see where the line starts or where the bulk is. Or you know what I'm saying? Like, so our job is to be advanced and elite. So if you watch these techniques, watch how I'm using the comb, and all I'm doing, this haircut, I'm gonna show you me working this side. That's why I won't do both sides. I really wanna teach on one side so you can see how I did this. And then I went from a 2, 1.5. Now I'm using the 1 on my magic clip. Then I come back with my Andy Masters, and I work in the Andy Masters no guard in the 1/16. It's all about technique. See, remember those dense spots he had behind his ear and right there on the side of his temple? They're leaving, right? Now, I'm not making his hair less patchy. And I don't mean that in any disrespectful way. Those dense areas that Ant has, those density issues that Ant has, he still has them. But my job is to make the fade look as such to where they all blend in perfectly, or as best as possible. You see what I'm saying? So the technique or the system translates on all hair textures, but you have to modify certain things depending on the hair type, the hair density. That's what I'm trying to teach you guys. So you watch me work the technique. See how I'm going. I'm fading the different angles. The way the hair grows, I go against it. I'm using the corner of the clipper. You guys watch, enjoy. Am I missing anything? Same thing, just debulking. I'm hitting. I see denser areas that huh, buddy? My son calling me. But you guys watch, and I'll be back in a little bit, okay? All right, sorry about that. So my son is like my biggest fan, man. I love that boy. Like, he game changer, daddy. He game changer. He watches all my shows and tutorials. So yeah. But yeah, so after we get this in, I'm just do a little more debulking, kind of thinning some areas out. Now it's time to actually blend the sections together. So what I'm doing with my master, like I said, with this less density hair pattern, I have to be very meticulous. I'm going to notch my wind, smaller strokes, longer strokes. Everything is calculated, meaning I'm not just stroking the clippers or swinging the clippers or swinging them, right? Everything is calculated. I'm knowing what part I'm hitting while I'm hitting it, right? And I'm focusing on that area. That's all. Like, sometimes a looser curl pattern or a looser wave pattern hair texture will take me a longer time because, again, I'm taking my time. Look at the density areas. Boom. I'm hitting that using the corner of the clippers, notching. Notching is when I actually hit a certain spot at a certain angle. I'm just, boom, notching a piece off at a time. All right, so you guys watch. When I get to the back, I'll talk to you guys then. But see, even I'm doing a reverse grip, like a tiger claw grip, which actually puts the blade closer to the head. I'm still using the comb on top of the clipper as a protectant or as a guard. But see, I'm just working every part of the clipper. It's like when you're teaching your kid how to play a sport, like a soccer, right? When you play soccer, you pass with the inside of the foot. You might lock the ankle and pass, but you also have to be familiar with the ball on every part of your foot. Any sport, you know what I'm saying? Quarterback, basketball, quarterback and football, basketball, you want to be familiar with the clipper, all parts of the clipper, front, back, side, corner, everything. All right, you guys watch, see you in a little bit. All right, so now we pretty much got the fade in. It's a few dense spots I'll come back and hit after I get the edge up in. But for now it's in. Now it's time to move to the back of the head. Now, the way the back of ant's hair works is it grows towards the inside in a V pattern. If you look at the corners, the outside of the nape is right there in the middle, right? That's the outside of the nape, that's the nape, and then that's the outer side of the nape, right on the left and right side. His hair flows to the inside. See that? Like a little dovetail in the middle. Right there, it creates towards the middle. So now, what's very interesting about that is, now I'm taking the primary line off, right? This is the primary line I'm creating. Same technique. I'm just going to have to fade at angles now. That's another thing that I think a lot of young barbers kind of don't understand, and it comes with practice. All fades are not the same. You don't have to stick to the same stroke pattern. And look how loose, again, my hands are. That's one thing I'll stress to you guys. I'm very loose with the clippers. Let the clippers work. You don't have to choke them. You don't have to put them in a headlock. Just hold them firm so you don't drop them. Work on your stroke rotation. Work on your wrist. Work on how your hand moves. All right. That's more important than how hard you hold the clippers. Again, now I'll debulk again. Boom. Just what I'm doing is I'm layering. You can call it debulking, layering, whatever you want to call it. But see how even when I pull out at an angle because of how his hair grows. Watch. See, I'm pulling out and I'm coming from an angle on the side. All right. Same technique. I just want to drop these few points because I'll let you guys watch me. I'll come back when it's time for the edge up. I'll debulk the same way. Look at my hand. It's so loose. I'm stressing these things because these are things that really help me achieve the looks that I accomplish. All right. Again, with this primary line that I'm taking out, I do not take it away. I fade it out. Right. I just don't want to leave any evidence that it was ever there. That's what I'm trying to get you to understand. It's like if you commit a crime. I'm using metaphors today. I'm in my metaphor bag, right? If you commit a crime, not saying that I've ever committed a crime, but I don't want to leave any evidence. You know what I'm saying? Because people get caught by the evidence. Your fade will tell on how good you are by the evidence. You know what I'm saying? If I go shoot somebody and I leave a shell casing or something, like the police go, the ballistics report is going to tie to my gun. If I'm doing a fade and I leave a line, they're going to say, oh, shit. You know what I'm saying? A person won't know why that fade looks the way it does. Like, just something ain't right about it. Don't leave it blurry. That's the new term nowadays. Leave that thing nice and saucy with no evidence. All right? No evidence, no case. Y'all enjoy. I'll be back. All right, so now that I'm done teaching y'all how to commit crimes, let me teach y'all about edging up behind or the back of the neck. All right, so it's very important that when you edge behind the back of the head, right, you want to keep it natural. I know it's very tempting. You have all this hair to play with. Keep it natural. Now, if you look behind Ant's ears, remember I told you earlier that his hair grows back towards the nape of his neck. So you want to actually, so you kind of like got to do like a chomping motion, right? Or a notching motion. Because if you edge your hair straight down, once you comb it into place, it'll look frayed again. So what I do is I go against it, but I do like a notching motion. I use the corner of the clipper, I pull the ear out the way, and then I just come back and clean up. So that's another very important part that a lot of barbers miss, right? Clean up behind those ears or under that neck. Get the little hairs that you think people don't see, because it adds a look, a very clean, smooth look, right? I stretch, I don't pull too far, right? Keep it on, and also, on this side, right? I got excited. Ooh, you heard the ooh. All right, let me stop playing. When the hair grows away, like when the hair grows down towards the edge up, it's easier to edge. But when the hair grows away towards the inside, it's harder to make it crispy. You just notch it and you drag the clippers lightly along that edge. See, boom, and it'll get you a nice sharp look. All right, I'll see you guys in a little bit. So now it's time for the good old edge up. Now I'm spraying Ant's hair. So he has a very loose, wavy pattern. His hair can get a little fluffy at times. That's the less professional terms, fluffy. So what I'll do is I'll spray it with water to lay it down before I edge him, right? Just to get the hair. I don't want to manipulate the hair. Now listen, Ant has a lot of hangover. You can call it bangs, and he wants it fresh on his edge up. So I'm not pushing it back. What I'm doing is taking the bang off to where his hair, his lineup starts, his edge up starts. Now, very important. He's still gonna have thin spots on his edge up. I like to keep it natural, but when you make it very sharp and crisp, and you keep the line uniform, make it very symmetric, it'll take away a lot of that thin look. Okay, so what you saw me doing was lifting that hair up to find where the edge up starts, just to find where the line starts, right? To see where those hair shafts actually start to grow. That's where he wants it at. That's where we'll put it at, okay? So a light hand, very light with the edges. Like I said, his hair is less dense. So with less dense hair, kind of edges up easily. All right, keep it nice and natural. Hit the corners, use the corner of the clippers. And now the benefit of actually, see that is looking good. Now the benefits of edging hair that's less dense and more wavy, lighter wave, when you cut it low, it's straight, and it also doesn't recoil. When I cut over curly hair, it kind of recoils in the corners, harder to edge. Here, nice and simple. I'll come back with my razor, hit those bald spots. Hope you guys enjoyed the tutorial. I'm about to give you some finish up clips. Subscribe, like, let me know what you think of the cut. I'm not done. I'm gonna clean up some areas. Y'all take care. See you soon.